Hello and welcome to this week's Tiff and Tony show.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony show. Tiffany, good morning. How are you doing?
Hello, I am doing okay today. As I was telling you earlier off camera, I got to just have some great human connection yesterday, and it was lovely and exactly what I needed. How are you?
I'm really good. I actually got some great nature connection. Went out for a bike ride, relieved a lot of stress. It was awesome. It brought me a new sense of hope. I think that was the thing. And yes, slid that in there, but that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, right? This sense of hope and human connection. So tell me a little bit more about what you learned yesterday about that and the topic and the idea of why that is so important to our youth today.
Yes. So this is actually, if you viewers out there saw the Friday challenge video, this is actually what I talk about, and it's hope and the power of human connection. And I've just been reminded recently, especially with where I've been at, I shared in my previous Friday challenge video that I've been struggling, and the last few days have helped me glean some hope. And what kind of prompted that was this human connection and feeling loved and cared for and supported by those around me. And this is something that as humans, we all experience at some point in our lives, whether we're aware of it or not, is that we go through periods of feeling hopeless, lonely, depressed, down, sad. And what we need to remember is that there is always hope, and it may just look differently than what we think we need or want in those moments of struggle. And I think especially for these youth and the families that hopefully you're watching right now and we're able to connect with you, it's great reminders for you too. And that's part of the reason that we share all this with you. Is it's not about us just talking about these knowledge things that we know in our heads. It's actually just sharing our experiences and hoping that you can relate and feel hopeful and encouraged from it.
Yeah, you bring up a great point there. It's part of our basic human need, right? To have human connection. Without human connection, we struggle. And we're in this pandemic right now. So human connection is certainly a commodity that we want to find and search for. Yeah, we've got Zoom meetings and Zoom interviews like this here. But it still doesn't substitute. It's still not a substitute for the actual in-person human connection. Because I know that my brain is, as I'm talking to you, trying to decipher your body language. And over video conferencing, it doesn't do that as well. And so I'm constantly tired because my brain is working that much harder to decipher what you do. So the benefits of human connection is obviously it's easier on the brain. We've got something where we work together, right? We've got these mirror synapses in our brains, which helps us actually feed off of one another. And that human connection brings us hope that we can live together. It's kind of a tribal thing, right? So very important. Tell me, you were on a Zoom call last week with GRIP, which is our Gang Reduction Intervention Partnership. Tell me a little bit more about that and kind of some of the human connection that was made, even though it was via a Zoom call. Tell me more about your experience there.
Yes, so this is my first time ever doing a camp with our partner GRIP, and it was exciting / also disappointing. Before COVID hit, we had all as a staff heard about and knowing that the summer camps were coming up and that one of those camps would be GRIP. And for one, I love what they do, how they're partnering with at-risk kids and really just walking with them through life. Maybe in a little bit different way that we're than we are able to. And so I was really looking forward to this, excited to try out a camp. And then when COVID hit, everything kind of turned upside down and everything became uncertain. And as it turns out, we were able to do the camp last week. It was virtual though. So that just added some more challenges because we don't get the in-person human connection. Like you just said, virtually, we're not able to read body language and really hear how they're sounding, and there's distractions, and there's so many things that hinder us from the human connection via video. That being said, it was so great being able to connect with these kids. A couple of the kids are kids that I had been connecting with in person before COVID at one of the schools that I run programs at, and I was so sad that COVID sort of took away instantly that connection, and we weren't able to basically connect anymore. And so even though it was virtual, it felt so great being able to see their faces, interact with them a little bit, have them call me Coach Tiffany. So that felt really helpful for me too, because while all this is going on, I constantly ask myself, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, how are we reaching these kids that I'm so passionate about, being hands-on and helping and being for them what others have been for me? And so it's been this huge shift for us of like, okay, what does human connection look like in the midst of a worldwide pandemic when we're forced to do everything virtually? And that's similar to a little bit of what I described about the last few days of me having some human connection that felt so needed in a time where I feel like that's really lacking. So the camp was fun, and it was light, and it was deep, and it felt like connection. We had some dance parties, which was super fun. And it's actually kind of fun doing dance parties on video because, like, people are a little bit different on video than they would be in person. And so in some ways it felt like people came out of their shell a little bit more to dance with us because we were on video and it wasn't quite as personal. And it was just really funny seeing everyone's dance moves. So that was one of the highlights besides just some of the deep stuff we got to challenge the kids to think about. And yeah, it was just fun. And I can't wait for when some of these restrictions lift and we're able to return to in-person, where you and I can sit next to each other maybe and do a Tiff and Tony show.
Yes, for sure. It's gonna be wondrous to get out there and really do have that human connection. So human connection, we did it virtually. I do know, because I've seen some of the video content from that, and I've heard some of the feedback. So I do know that brought some hope for these kids because they were connecting with other kids and other adults who kind of spoke some wisdom into their life and brought them some fun. But why is human connection so important to bringing hope?
Yeah, so I talk about this in my aforementioned Friday challenge video from last week. And human connection allows us to invite and welcome in vulnerability. It allows us to challenge our distorted thoughts and feelings and misperceptions of the world around us and misperceptions of myself and ourselves. Lots of times when I'm struggling, I just think these awful things about myself, which in turn becomes this negative cycle of hopelessness because I'm not feeding my soul with anything positive. I'm just feeding it negative stuff. So of course I get stuck in a cycle of hopelessness. And I am willing to guess that many of you out there, and also you, Tony, have experienced things like that. So human connection really allows us to be vulnerable with other people, which we've also talked about before, is the key to connection. And vulnerability allows us to trust others and let other people trust us. And human connection brings and fuels and breeds hope because it's what we were created for. We are human beings. I believe we are human beings with souls, and we're not on our own little worlds and islands by ourselves. We're literally surrounded by people, and it's because we meet other people. And none of this is really scientific evidence. It's just experience and some education I've had, and some other people speaking these truths in my life, that human connection really is just like a basic need to survive and to be healthy. And when I have human connection with others, whether I'm giving or receiving or both, I feel loved, I feel cared for, I feel like I matter. And those are all things that we, as a Pure Game team, we do our best to remind the kids that we work with that those are the things that matter, that they matter.
And that human connection, like you said, it makes us feel that we're not alone. And one of the biggest defeating conversations I have with myself is, I'm so dumb, I'm so stupid, I'm not good enough. And I must be the only one in the world that would make a dumb choice like that, right? Well, but when you make that connection with other people, you suddenly realize, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not on my own. There are other people going through this same issue, this same problem as I am. And then that makes me feel that I'm not alone, which then brings hope that together we can get through it. I read a book a number of years ago, and it was by Martin Seligman, and it's called Learned Optimism. And he talks about this idea that learned optimism is his way of saying kind of hope, right? That if we can actually correct in what we say to ourselves and how we connect with the world, we can actually learn to be optimistic, which brings hope. And optimism, how to change your mind and your life. And that's
right here. I pulled it up on Amazon, Learned Optimism. So
that is the book.
You can check it out. We'll include the links below also.
So this is great. If we're sitting in front of our youth and having this conversation, what is a practical step that you can give to our youth to say, hey guys, do this, try this, and it will help with human connection?
That is such a great question, Tony. And it's something that I've really been thinking about for myself. The challenge that I gave myself in last episode of the Friday Challenge was, instead of pushing people away, to invite them in. And I have a fairly similar challenge. So 2 videos ago, I talk about a little bit of vulnerability. And then a few days ago, the Friday Challenge video is about hope. So one way that we can challenge ourselves, I'm challenging myself, is to reach out to someone with the sole purpose of human connection. So it's sharing stories, it's sharing a meal if it's someone that you live with or quarantining with. It's being able to give and receive support for the goal of helping to encourage and provide hope for someone else, and that hopefully they can do that also for you.
I would add to that the simple step of developing your listening skills. Because being able to sit in front of you and ask a question, of which a question goes out all the time, right? Oh, how are you doing? And then the other person will just say, yeah, I'm fine. And then it moves on. Well, actually, let's ask that question with some meaning. So really, how are you doing? And then shut up and listen intently to what they're saying. So the next question that you ask is honestly connected to their response. With no agenda on your side to give your problems and issues. You're not trying to listen to then share, oh yeah, I had that experience and blah, because that just negated everything. Human connection. Listen, just listen.
I love, 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 love. I just said love, and that is okay. I love the fact that you just challenged us to be honest and vulnerable when someone else asks us how we're doing, and then which will invite them into being vulnerable in a similar way and them sharing. So we can both be vulnerable, and then we're able to switch gears and listen for the sole purpose of learning about this person's experience, learning about who they are, where they're at right now. And that breeds connection literally right in that moment.
Thank you very much for listening to today's show. Your challenge today is, I would say, go find a friend, a family member, connect with them, listen to what they have to say, understand them. Don't put your perspective on them, but let them be them and listen and connect and see what comes of it. I think that will bring you a sense of hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Thank you very much. Tiffany, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. I have a little deeper part to add to your challenge.
Yes.
So your challenge is great. And I want to challenge people to go a little bit deeper, is after you've had that experience, reflect on it, journal about it, think about it, sit with it, and try to understand maybe how you were feeling then or before that and how you're feeling now. So maybe some emotion words, or just think about the experience and what it was like and what you think about it. And maybe you hated it. That's okay too. You don't have to enjoy or like or love or even think that any of these challenges work. That is okay, because that's where you're at. And we're just here to provide whatever support and encouragement we can. And we just want you to recognize where you're at. There's no judgment, no pressure. And with
Brilliant.
that, yes, we'll wrap up.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for joining this week's episode, while Tony and I got to chat a little bit about hope and the power of human connection. As I mentioned at the end of last week's Friday challenge video, we have decided to move to every other week instead of every week. It allows us to go deeper with you during this time. We value quality over quantity, and we would rather give you less content if it means that we're able to go deeper. We look forward to more great, deep, encouraging conversations in the future. And with that, we will see you right back here in 2 weeks.